Right. Hi. Good morning. Right. Good morning. So this is 51, question 51, and Juneau, it's a bit long, but let's read through it. It's just long-winded, but not too tricky. So it says you work for Juneau Limited as a management accountant. The company makes two products, the key and the jet, and these are sold to the water management industry. And both products use the same type of materials and labor, but in different quantities. And so they operate a 5 day week. So 5 days, 5 days in a week is what they do. And they do these 5 week periods. So every period is made up of 5 weeks. So one period, so a period like period 11 is made up of 5 weeks, right? You can see them telling us very clearly what that is. 5 weeks to the 22nd of December 2010. And then period 12 is another 5 weeks. So there are 5 weeks. So in effect, there are 25 days. Yes, there are 25 days in each period. There are 25 days in each period. So it says that one of your jobs is to prepare the production budget. So you're given the following information here for the 5 weeks ending, if you like, the 22nd of December 2010. So let us begin. So you're given these are the volumes. So they said that we want you to sell. This is the sales one. We want you to sell in this period in terms of keys, 9,350 keys, and we want you to sell 10,120 jets, and then you have the same sort of data for the next period for keys and jets respectively. Now, let's look at what we currently have in-house in terms of inventory. So this is what we want you to sell. So we know what we need to sell, but let's see how much we currently have. So we currently have, at the beginning of period 11, 1,103 keys and 1,305 jets. So they're telling us here there are no inventories of raw materials or work in progress. So we literally have finished goods in-house. So we start, if you like, um, the period 11 with 1,103 um, keys. So I mean, just so that you can just kind of work the process in your mind, what they're saying is you open your shop, you have 1,103 keys, you need to sell in that period 9,350 keys. So technically we just need to, if this was the end of the story, we would just produce enough keys, if you like, to make up that 9,350. So technically, you could already start the process of thinking about this by saying, well, what would that amount be if all I just had to do was to enough to make enough to make enough to sell, you would be making 8,247 keys if that was the case. But there is a bit more of a story here. And for jets, it would literally be you're starting the month with 1,305 keys. Your target is to sell 10,120 keys. So you would technically just be making, if you like, the difference. Technically, 10,120 minus 1,305, which is 8,800 and 8,815. That would be the plan. That would be the plan. But let's look at the picture here. Let's look at what's interesting here. Here we are told here we're given some unit full absorption costs, £51 for a key, 66 for a jet. But we're told that the finished goods of inventory at the end of the period 11 must be equal to 3 working days um, sales of keys in period 12, and the finished goods of inventory must be 5 working days of the next period. So they're telling us that we must hold some closing inventory and we must produce enough so that we not only produce what we need to be able to sell in that period, but we need to produce enough as well. And for keys, they want you to produce another 3 working days of goods in the next period. So the question, I suppose, is the next period is this one, and here you're talking about 25 days. So they want you to produce 3 days worth of keys and 5 days worth of jets. So really, guys, this is the beginning of our production budget, right? So we've done our sales budget. We know what our sales budget is. This is the sales budget is given to us. The next step is the production. So let's just kind of go in. I've created a spreadsheet, but I'm going to go through it step by step, and then just sort of deal with it that way. So here we are. Here's my opening balance, if you like, of 1,103. This is what I intend to sell, if you like. This is period 11 here, period 11 over here. And I've been told that they want the working balance to be 3 working days of the next period. So the question here, this is what I'm selling in the next period. So you can see here that my 3 working days is really 3 over 25 times this figure here, right? Because that's 3 working days out of 25 times the intended sales of the next period, and then we have that. So again, here, what you can do, I mean, literally, if I'm asking what I need to produce, just from a rational point of view, here, I just need to top this up by I need to produce a total of 1353, 1353. You add these two together because not only am I producing enough to sell in that year because I have smoking, but I also have to produce more, if you like, to prepare for the next period. And when you do this, you have 9,600. 9,600. And again, whatever magic you're using to work out that process, in effect, we're really talking about opening inventory plus production minus closing inventory is equal to whatever it is we're trying to sell. If you like, so um, we're trying to make sure we push out, which is cost of sales in effect. So we're trying to push out 9,350. We need to have 1353. We need to produce. That's what I'm looking for. I know what my opening inventory is. So rearrange your formula, if you like, to arrive at this thing over here, P. But you could do it via the rational method you saw me doing earlier on, which was just thinking about what you were really doing. And I apply exactly the same principle to the jets. Apply exactly the same principle to the jets. Um, and when I do that here for the jets, I start with 1305. That is what I intend on selling. You're told that again, you want it to be 5 days worth of work of the next period. And so therefore what you have is 5 out of 25, 5 divided by 25 times the next period of sales. And when you do that, you have 2585. And what does that mean? So you now have, again, that's 2585. So I literally could just add 2585 to this thing here, 2585, because, right, just working on thinking about it, and that brings you to 11400. Or again, it is literally opening. The question here is this plus this minus this gives us this opening plus production minus closing gives us what actually leaves the shop. So you could argue that 1305 plus production minus 2585 is equal to 10120. This is your standard structure for this thinking, and you will arrive here, of course, at 11400. Cool, great stuff. Yeah, and that's the first part of that question, which comes and says to us that calculate, if you like, prepare the production budget in units, and that's what we're doing first of all. And now that we have the production unit, we can go ahead to produce the materials purchases budget. Okay, the next budget is the material purchases budget, and so this is us actually buying in the raw materials. So let's look at the situation here. We know it says that each key requires 11 kilograms of raw materials, and each jet 14 kilograms of raw materials. So let's just focus on the actual the quantity first. We'll look at the cost in a second, but the quantity. So the question now must be, what are we trying to produce? So we need to, if you like, buy raw materials on the basis of what we are trying to produce. And we know what the production is for both. We know we're trying to produce 9,600 keys and 11,400 jets. So let's focus on keys first of all. So like I said here, I've written here, we need to produce 9,600 keys, and we know that it tells us in the question that we need 11 kilograms. It's the same kilograms, the same raw material as the question tells us, but we need 11 kilograms for each key. So that is, if you like, 9,600 times 11. So we need to buy, if you like, 105,600 kilograms if in a perfect scenario, perfect world. And then for jet, we want to produce 11,400 units. We need 14 kilograms per unit, and therefore we need 11,400 times 14, and that's the situation. So we're told in the question that no raw materials are held in either circumstance. But what we are told is that whatever we put into the system, we will lose 3% of what we put into the system. So we know we need 105,600 to make the 9,600 units. We need that perfect number, but we need to put a certain amount of which we will lose 3% of. So if you like, 97% of what we put in is what will produce this 9,600 keys. So if you like, when you look at it, this here, let's look at what we are trying to buy. Sort of, so I put here, I sort of just simply said, well, if this is 97% of what will actually make what we need, because we're going to lose 3%, therefore we need to buy raw materials, if you like, by dividing this amount by 0.9 by 0.97. So in a way, I'm almost sort of saying that, listen, you have 105,600 equal to, if you like, 97% or 0.97 of what we fully need. We will need, what we really need is 1 or 100%. So the question is, what is then 1? And that's really 105,600 divided by 0.97. Right? Divide both sides by 0.97 and you'll have the answer. And we can test it. You see, this is what we need to buy, 108,866. We will lose 3% of this. If you calculate 3% of this, if you like, that's how I now get this 3266. I actually just subtracted the 2, but you can test it. The 3% of this amount will be equal to the 3,266. So you will need to be buying in raw materials of 108,866, and you will also need to do the same thing here. We need exactly this to produce that. We will lose 3%, so that's what you see me doing, dividing this by the 0.97, and that's the full amount. And that's what I lose, of course, in effect, the difference between the two of them. The difference between the two of them. And so I mean, there's two ways in terms of calculating cost. I did mine separately, but what you could do is I mean, it's the same material, so you might have just added this, what you're buying for your jets. You might just have added that figure, that amount. I'll just put a different put that in red, to the keys, what we're buying. Oops, sorry. I think it wants to write anyway, but the point is I add these two figures together. In fact, I have a funny feeling that this figure over here, 273402, must have been an attempt of mine to add both 164536 plus 108,866, 108,866, 12, 0, 5, 3, 7, 2, 7, 3, 5, 0, 2. Oh, sorry, 2, 7, 3. This is a 4. Yeah, this is a 4. Sorry, forgive me. And that's my attempt. So actually, you just need to buy in 273,402 kilograms of raw material. So that would answer the second part of that question. And let's just go back to that. And that's this bit over here. The material purchases budget in kilograms. So in terms of cost, we are paying the question tells us that we are paying £6 per kilogram, and so that's not too bad. Although I did do them separately, if you like, but I literally could just take this whole number here of 273,402 and multiply that by the amount of, I believe it's £6. But what I do, if you like, is to sort of in terms of cost of raw materials, that's just really that. So that's what you buy in, multiply that by 6, and you have that. You do exactly the same thing here. That's what you're buying in. Multiply that by 6, and you have that. And you can add the two together, and that's what you see over here. C19 plus this cost of jets. Sorry, this cost of jets plus this cost of key. These are keys, yeah. The cost of keys plus the cost of jets together give you 1640412. And that's how you answer or find the cost of that the raw material. So just if you take it step by step, just making sure you're clearly separating out. You know what you're selling, therefore you know what you need to produce. Now you know in terms of units, you now need to look at the raw materials needed to produce that and look at if there's any opening or closing, and then you need to buy it, and that's why you have that as well. So we'll look at the budgets next. All right, let's look at labor. So the question is quite good with labor. We sort of have a nice little sort of heading for it separately. It tells us they employ 23 production employees who work a standard 35-hour week. So we know in every period we have 5 weeks. So we know that whatever we're looking at here in terms of available hours, we have 23 times 35, right? Times 5. So we know that's what's totally available. We will then look at how many hours we need for production, and then we will then look at the difference, right? Because that shortfall will mean that we need to go out there and get overtime. So that's the context for the argument. So let's see here. Let's start off with keys and deal with production. So we're trying to produce 9,600 keys, and we are told that you make 8 keys in 1 hour. So that's pretty good. So the question simply is, how many hours do we need? And if you see there, that literally is that's production divided by 8. So that's 1,200 hours. So you need 1,200 hours to make keys. And then let's look at jets. We can see here that jets total hours you need 1 second, let me just sort of see. Yeah, so here we're trying to make this is slightly arranged differently. Let me just give it some space. Okay, great. So we see here that you are trying to make 11,400 jets, and you make 4 jets in 1 hour. So the question then becomes, how many hours do you need to make these jets? You need 2,850. So in total, you will need the 2,850 plus the 1,200 hours. So that's what you see here. Total hours needed is 4,000. Total hours of needed is 4,050 when I add those two things together, the 2,850 and the 1,200, right? And that gives you 4,050. I think I do some additioning here. Total hours needed, yeah. So that's why I add the two things together to get that. Now, total hours available, I actually do the calculation here, total hours available, and that was what you saw me do earlier on. That was the 23 work staff times the 35-hour week times 5 weeks, and that gave us 4,025. So you have a shortfall of 25 hours. So you will be paying overtime on these 25 hours. So so now we've found the actual number of hours. We now need to calculate the amounts in terms of the cost of labor. Well, I suppose the simple argument is that, well, for the total hours available, you will pay the normal rate, and that's, if you like, that 4,025 times 8. It's all £8. It's the same type of labor, and that's what you have. Now, for the additional hours, you're told that it's at a premium of 50%, so that's at 1.5, right? So you'll pay overtime plus overtime and a half of 50%. So you have 25 times 8 times 1.5, which gives you 300. And so the total labor cost, of course, then becomes £32,500. So that answers these two, the sort of getting the labor hour budget and also what is the cost of the direct labor budget. Okay, let's finish off the last part. The last part of this question then says to us that we should go ahead and produce the total cost of production. So we're just bringing all these figures together. They do give us a little bit of a bit of information. So, for example, with labor, it tells us that any overtime premium is charged to production overheads rather than to the cost of direct labor. So they want us to just look at direct labor as direct labor there. Sorry, I was interrupted there. So I was talking about what they had told us. They had given us some information here about the fact that overtime was charged to production overheads, and that's right. So in terms of the total cost of production, let's come over here and see what they're really telling us. Well, we've already worked out what the cost when we're trying to produce these um, these products here, these 9,600 keys, and also trying to produce the 10,120 jets. And we've already calculated these already. You know, we did this already. Here we are, the 1640412. That's that, and that's what that is. Because of course we're multiplying that. We're buying in all the material that gets wasted as well. All of that is allowable because that evaporates. We needed all of that. We needed 100%, even though only 97% actually makes those keys. All of that goes in. We're categorically told that the overheads in labor will go into overhead. Sorry, the overtime will go into overheads, but the normal time will go into labor. So what you see here is that you needed 1,200 hours of labor at £8 for the keys, and that's what you see here, 1,200 hours of labor. Um, and for the jets, what you see is that you need 2,850 times 8 hours there for the jets, and together, what you now see um, is you see a total there for labor there of that amount of those two things together. The overheads, we are categorically given amounts, if you like, that in the question. Let's go to the question. The question says here that you have, let's just find it over there. Here we are. Production overheads are charged at the rate of £15 per labor hour. So what we are literally doing is applying, if you like, that for the keys, which is 1,200 times 15, and the jets, which is 2,850 times 15 as as well, right? And that's how the overhead is generated. And that's the total cost of production. So the total cost of production, I suppose, is me just literally adding all these together, which is this figure here, which is this, of course, plus this, plus the key there, plus that, and then you have this amount over here, um, there. So that's kind of what's going on for this question here on total cost of production based on full absorption costing. Then the question says, what is the cost of opening finished goods inventory based on full absorption costing? And if you look at the question gives you some information on opening inventory. It tells you here that the unit full absorption of finished goods at the beginning was 51 for the keys, and 66 for jets. So the question really was, well, what was your opening inventory for keys and jets? And if you look at the question, your opening inventory for keys and jets was here we are, 1103 and 1305. 1103 and 1305. So we have, yeah, that's a 1305, 1103 and 1305, and we're given the amounts of 51 and 66. And so you multiply all of that together, and then you have these costs here. And there you are. So you're given already a full cost, right, of that finished product, but for the opening inventory. So, and then you can add those together, and you have that. So that's that. That's the quite a big question, question one. But there is a part two to it, which we'll do in another video. But that's question one. I thought it was quite a big question, but we'll do question two in the second. Actually, you know what? Yeah, in a second video, just to keep it very quite clear, because they are two big issues. Cool, great stuff.